This segment of DelmarvaLife is sponsored by For All Seasons Behavioral Health and Rape Crisis Center.
Looking back on life, it's probably not tremendously difficult to remember something bad, including something that's no fault of our own. Maybe it was a random accident. Maybe it was the end of a relationship or the passing of a loved one. Traumatic events happen in life, and sadly, they can affect kids just as much as adults. With us this afternoon is Beth Ann Dorma, the CEO for All Seasons Behavioral Health and Rape Crisis Center, to talk about how we can talk to kids after a traumatic event. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for coming.
Good to see you too.
Do me a favor, define childhood trauma.
It's any event that a child experiences that causes either physical or emotional harm and or disturbance to a child's everyday life.
Okay. Are there particular steps that we can take when it comes to addressing kids' concerns?
So there's a lot of research around what's called ACEs, which are adverse childhood experiences, and it talks to us about the importance of acknowledging when something traumatic has happened, being able to create a safe space, and simply holding a space for a child to say, I'm scared,
right.
I'm nervous, and really walking through with a child what has happened, and ultimately getting them help if they need it.
Don't ignore it, acknowledge it.
Don't ignore it, absolutely.
Let me ask you another question. Could it be that we as adults maybe experienced a childhood trauma that we thought that was just part of life, but looking back, we'd know different now?
Sure, and it's really important to pay attention to how we might be responding to things as adults when we aren't really understanding a response that we've had. I call it the pause. It's so important to sort of pause and think, I wonder if this is connected to something that happened way back when, because how many times are we in situations, even as adults, where people say, you're fine,
right.
No big deal.
Yeah.
And so recognizing that, yes, all of the events that we have experienced throughout our life have kind of a layering effect to our adult life. And it is really important to pay attention to those things and work through it if it's something that continues to show up in your adult life.
Okay, so back to the child.
Yes.
What can we do as a parent or as a caregiver to help the child through the stress?
So one of the things we need to recognize is that parents can provide a safe space for a child if they are not the person who has caused the trauma. So we do want to make sure that we are helping to frame what the caregiver looks like. So, if there is violence in the home and a child has experienced trauma in the home, we need to make sure that we're creating safe spaces outside of that home. But being able to sit down and talk with a child, being able to connect a child to therapy, understanding that boundaries and structure become really important, and also not looking at a child from a lens of what's wrong with you, but really asking the question, what happened to you? Yeah. So often when we interact with kids who are not showing up as their best selves, the go-to phrase is like, what is wrong with that kid? Versus, I wonder what happened to this child. And if we as adults can start to create that conversation and create that safe space, how much more likely is a child to come forward and say, I'm struggling.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to ping pong on you here. Please forgive me. Let's go back to the adults for a second.
Absolutely.
Trying to deal with this, whatever the stress may be, is sometimes going to feel overwhelming for the adult. What do we do with that?
Yeah, so adults need assistance as well. And I want to make sure that we're talking, when we talk about the adults, if an adult has experienced a trauma, we have something that is called break the cycle. You can break the cycle of trauma for yourself, because we also have to recognize that it may feel overwhelming because the adult is working through a trauma as well. It's really important to seek medical and professional, whether it's therapy or psychiatry services, so that we can work stuff out in a safe space ourselves.
Right.
So we're not either working it out on our child and showing up in not great ways, or we are offloading onto a child our own trauma. And so that becomes real important. Talking with family members, talking with friends, having conversations with our doctors. Support groups are wonderful when we are trying to work through things that maybe other people may have experienced. And it's never too late to start those conversations.
Let me ask you one more thing. And it's going to refer back to something you had said on an earlier conversation that we had with you. If we're, let's say, a caregiver, and we see that a child is not showing up, I think were the words you used, the way they usually do, is it okay to boldly ask?
Sure. We have to make sure that if we see someone not showing up as their best selves, who they were born to be,
Right.
and if it's something that's gone on for maybe 2 or 3 weeks and your child is acting out, or maybe grades are slipping, their responses aren't good, it is okay to create the conversation to say, let's talk about what's happening. You're not showing up normally, and maybe those aren't the words you use, but
This isn't
maybe you
you.
say, this is just not you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what's going on. We have to use open-ended questions. Help me understand what's happening, not what's wrong with you.
Right.
Being able to create curiosity, when we lean into curiosity with our children about what is happening, it keeps us as adults out of judgment.
Right.
So a child is going to be more likely to engage in that conversation if they're not feeling judged by the behavior that you're describing.
Then they'll talk.
And they'll talk. And if not, that's where the village comes in. So maybe you're not the person who is prepared to have the conversation.
Okay.
Maybe you tag in a pediatrician. Maybe it is someone within the faith community. Maybe it's a family friend. Being able to recognize that it's okay to tag other people in if we ourselves as parents or caregivers are not prepared for the conversation.
Don't ignore it.
Don't ignore it.
Don't ignore it. Beth Ann Dorman, CEO of For All Seasons. I love talking to you whenever you come in.
We could do this all day.
We could do this. Thank you so much. It was wonderful
Absolutely.
talking to you. Stick around. DelmarvaLife. We'll be right back.